bowling. It's one of the most iconic sports in American history, and it's also the most played sport every year in America. If you don't believe me, just Google it. Almost 70 million people do it every year. And the reason? Well, it's fun. If you don't think it's fun to bowl, just watch Chris Paul's 2009 tournament and look at LeBron James and Kevin Durant make fun of Rudy Gay. That'll make a bowling fan out of anyone. Now this, I gotta be honest, the quality is really bad and I can't see who this is. Oh, that is even worse. I think that is Mookie Betts. And this is gonna be a little bit more difficult to tell, but he's in the 10th frame, he has 11 strikes, and he is 1 strike away from a perfect game and a score of 300.
Boston Red Sox outfielder Mookie Betts on the precipice of perfection. 300 games.
So, in case you didn't know, Mookie Betts is more known for doing stuff like this. And also, stuff like this. So what gets him so motivated and so excited to play a game like this? Well, a part of it is what I said before. Bowling is fun. Wii bowling is one of my favorite video games of all time. Going out bowling with my friends is probably one of my favorite things to do on a lazy Friday when we don't have anything else planned. But not everybody really has a good time bowling, especially not this guy. This is Pete Weber. He's also known as one of the angriest bowlers of all time. Admit it, if it wasn't for all these people clapping right now, you really wouldn't think that this guy won. And this is probably what you know Pete for.
Who do you think you are? I am!
It's just too bad that iconic moment was against a kid. Yeah, he screamed at a kid. The kid wasn't playing, just some kid in the stands. Now, Pete is viewed as the proverbial bowling villain, but who's the hero? Well, that would be Norm Duke. I mean, just look at this guy. Every picture he's in, he's got a smile as big as can be, and he just looks so friendly. Every time I see him, I mistake him for Martin Short, and I feel like if anybody was gonna play him in a movie, it would be Martin Short. And if they were gonna make a bowling movie about Norm Duke, it would absolutely be about the 2019 PBA Indianapolis Open, where he went against Australian powerhouse Jason Belmonte. Now, I'm guessing at this point you're saying, Jack, who is Pete Weber? Who is Norm Duke? Who is Jason Belmonte? I don't care about any of this. I barely even knew that there was professional bowling, but I'm gonna make you care. First of all, let's go back to this. When are you ever gonna see a sport like this, where a 35-year-old goes up against a 54-year-old? Norm Duke has been a pro for 37 years, and he has won 38 titles and 7 majors. And Jason Belmonte, Jason Belmonte has not even been alive as long as Norm Duke has been a professional bowler. I'd imagine with all that experience, Norm Duke has to be the favorite going in, right? Well, wrong. Jason is actually the favorite and Norm is the underdog here, as Dave Lamont and Randy Peterson are about to explain.
But you've got one of the greatest of all time, top 5 easy, whose time has kind of come and gone, except in his mind.
Right. Good
Going
point.
up against the #1 player in the world. I mean, this is a dream matchup.
Yeah.
Now, maybe I'm misreading this or looking too far into it, but to me, he definitely just called Norm Duke washed up. And also, wait, did he say Jason Belmonte is #1 in the world? Well, shoot, okay, I guess I better tell you about him then. So, Jason Belmonte was born and raised in Orange, Australia. His parents actually built the bowling alley in his hometown, and from the time that he was old enough to pick up a ball and walk towards the line, he was trying to bowl strikes. The only problem is, bowling balls are kind of heavy. So, what did Jason do? Well, Jason started bowling with 2 hands, and not in that way where you do it between your legs, but like this. Now, I promise I won't get too invested in bowling technique right now, but I just want to show you Norm Duke's bowling style. He's a classic one-handed traditional bowler. This is how bowling typically works. You start by moving the foot that is on the same side as your ball hand, and you end on the opposite foot, so right, left if you're right-handed. The whole time, you're only using one hand. Jason's style is a little different. He uses his right, left, a Happy Gilmore-style shuffle, and uses both hands on the drawback and the release. What does this most help? His curve. What's curve? Well, see, most of the time when people like you and me go bowling, we just try to throw the ball straight and hard, right in between the middle pin and the pin to the right. That's how you get a strike. Wrong. Like I said before, you're aiming between the 1 pin and the 3 pin, right about there. And normally when you're trying to aim for that target, it's really hard to hit it straight. There's a very small margin of error. But if you were gonna try to come at it from the side, like that, the margin is much larger and it's easier to hit. Here's a different view. You can see a tiny little orange TIE fighter in between the 1 and the 3. Now at this angle, slightly to the right, that TIE fighter gets bigger, making it easier to get a strike. So bowlers try to get their hand either underneath or on the side of the ball and get it to spin counterclockwise over the oil pattern so that the ball begins to skid. And when the ball hits the part of the lane that doesn't have any oil, it begins to roll straight, hitting the 1-3 pocket perfectly. Like I said before, Norm's a traditionalist, going with what I call the thumb-in side spin technique. You can even see his fingers on the side of the ball where he spins it over the top. God, I love looking at strikes. They're so cool. Now, I know I already showed you this graphic before, but I want to go more in detail. Norm Duke had 38 titles then. He now has 40, which puts him at number 3 all-time. His 7 majors put him at number 6 for all-time majors wins. Jason Belmonte at the time had 19. He now has 26, which puts him at 9th all-time for titles, and he has 13 majors. Right now, Jason Belmonte is the most celebrated bowler in the world in terms of major trophies. He has completely changed the game of bowling with his two-handed approach. So what makes it so different? Well, for starters, he's not using his thumb. Sometimes he does, but sometimes he doesn't. He also uses 2 hands both underneath the ball and on the front of the ball so that he can hold it better and put more spin on it. He's not the first bowler to ever use 2 hands, but he's definitely been the most impactful. At last year's USBC Masters Tournament, both of the finalists used a 2-handed approach. Now, when I first saw this bowling matchup, I didn't just picture it as 2 bowlers, one old and one new. I pictured it as 2 mindsets, one old and one new. I saw it as a competition between rubber and plastic and highly reactive urethane with complicated weight mechanisms inside of them. And I'm not the only one who got struck with this feeling. Just listen to Dave and Randy.
That every bowling center around the country and every sports bar in there is beyond capacity to watch what I think and feels like a heavyweight title fight, even though physically they aren't heavyweights.
I think it's the greatest matchup of this season.
Now, there's one other thing raising the stakes for Norm. He hasn't won a tournament in almost 5 years. He hasn't won a major in almost 10. And just a couple of weeks ago, Jason Belmonte did this. He won his 10th major, tying him for the most all-time. So that means that Norm Duke is going up against one of arguably the best bowlers of all time during one of the hottest streaks of his entire career when he is on a cold streak. He should be nervous. You and me will be nervous. What does he do?
In this game, it's $1 million.
He's singing. He's fucking singing. I mean, I still can't figure out why he does this. I mean, other than to get a laugh. See, he's never gone against Belmonte in a TV tournament, so he's got to feel nervous, but I don't know. I've talked enough. Let's just see him bowl. I mean, I have already spent 7.5 minutes hyping it up. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the 2019 Indianapolis Open. Norm starts strong by getting a strike in the first frame, but Belmonte is quick to respond with a strike in the first frame of his own, quickly following it up with a spare. Now, here, Norm actually takes the lead by taking a quick double. That's 2 strikes in a row. Calm, cool, and composed, Norm gets a 3rd strike, keeping up his streak. But you see, Belmonte isn't one of the best bowlers in the world for no reason. He quickly recovers with 2 more strikes of his own. Now, this is where I wanted to explain how scoring works in bowling, but I barely understand it myself. Just know that every time you get a strike, you add the next 2 rolls to the frame you got a strike in. The same thing applies with a spare, but only with 1 roll. If you're confused, that's okay. So am I. That's why the computer keeps score. Just know that you mainly want to get strikes and spares when you go bowling. And that's okay because most of the time, bowlers in the PBA get strikes and spares. Except for when that happens. That is called a split. Now, it's difficult to tell, but Norm just made a critical mistake. Even though he throws the ball at nearly the exact same position, the oil is already starting to break down. This causes the ball to curve too far in, which causes it to hit the head pin too soon. This creates a bad break, leaving the 4-pin and the 9-pin. Now, I did a little bit of research, and even though this isn't the hardest split in the world to convert, it still only has a 20% rating. This means that Norm only has a 1 in 5 chance of converting the spare, which would keep his bonus streak alive. If he doesn't convert the spare, leaving an open frame, the bonus goes away and Belmonte likely takes the lead. But clutch as ever, Duke shows him how it's done. I love how excited the crowd gets. They are so happy for him. Belmo, on the other hand, looks pissed. It's probably just because he's losing, but I feel like he might be thinking about last week when he lost the PBA Players Championship because he hit 2 7-10 splits. It's one of the hardest splits to convert. That was Belmo's chance to break the record and be the #1 bowler in the world. So he's just as motivated as Duke is for redemption. But Duke just won't let up, firing in another strike. Norm is right in the pocket. He will not let up. He's continuously putting more distance between his score and Belmo's score. But the game isn't even halfway over for Belmo, and he has every opportunity in the world to come back. And he does so in the 5th frame with a strike. His chances for a comeback would be even better if he doesn't miss the 4-pin here, but at least he still gets the spare. Granted, it is a 98% chance he does so, but still. Okay, so remember when I said not to worry about the scoring? Well, I'm going to make you worry about it again. So Duke has 98 in the 4th, and Belmonte has 119 in the 5th. Now, the reason that there's only an X and a slash for the next frame is because those scores are undetermined. The final score of each of those frames actually relies on what they bowl next. So if Norm gets a strike in the 6th frame, the 5th frame will reflect that. So if he gets another strike, the 5th frame will be worth 20 instead of only being worth 10. So basically, Norm has a chance to even further extend his lead here, or as our color commentators will more easily explain,
This guy can double up and increase his, take a 9-pin lead.
and just like that, Duke's got a 9-pin lead. Okay, so now it's time for more score explanation from Jack. As you can see, in the 5th and 6th frame, he has X's. That means that he has at least 10 there, but the bonuses aren't finished applying. So in the 4th frame, he still has a 98. But because of his strike in the 6th frame, his score in the 5th frame is now worth 20 instead of only being worth 10. He also gets to apply the bonus in the next throw. So if he gets a strike in the 7th frame, the 5th frame will be worth 30, and the 6th frame will be worth 20. And it keeps adding on and on and on like that. So even though I barely understand what I just said, and you might not even understand anything I said, Norm does, and he understands that it is about pressure. It's about constantly continuing to score, and that's what he does here. So now you can see that his score in the 5th is 128. His score in the 6th is now worth at least 20, putting him at 148, and his score in the 7th is worth at least 10, putting him at 158. And then if he keeps getting strikes, it'll keep giving bonuses, and yeah, blah, blah, blah. You already know. I already told you. You get it. Sorry, I'm just very frustrated. I don't enjoy the scoring aspect of this. I just like the story. I just like the old seasoned veteran versus the new exciting pro. It's LeBron versus MJ to me. Like, do you remember when Skip and Stephen A. Smith debated if old-ass MJ could take on modern-day LeBron? Like, that's literally what this is, but in bowling. And not only is this a once-in-a-lifetime match, this could literally be the last time we ever see Norm compete for a title.
We're going to call matches for Belmonte. How many times are we going to get to see Norm Duke bowl for a title against the greatest player on the planet in Jason Belmonte?
And I didn't even realize until now how much these two respect each other.
You know what was interesting is when we interviewed Norm Duke last night, we asked him who the greatest bowler of all time is. And he said, unequivocally, without question, without a doubt, Jason Belmonte. Really?
But it seems like Norm's kind words have jinxed Belmonte. He's got a terrible string of luck, leaving the 10-pin now. And the announcers are quick to bring up past events.
We saw it last week with the 2-pocket 7-10s, and this time the same thing as the pin goes behind the 10.
Now, even though this is only a 10, not a 7-10 split, I still feel like he's frustrated at the fact that he's leaving only one pin instead of getting strikes, especially with Duke doing so hot. Speaking of Duke, let's tune back into him. He's about to bowl in the 8th frame, which would get him a turkey, but something bad happens. The same bad luck affecting Belmo starts to affect Duke. He even almost falls here just trying to get a simple spare conversion. Okay, so I promise I'm not making fun of Duke here. I just think it's really funny that they include footage of this. Like, it's almost like they're comparing him to a football player when they're trying to stay in bounds right near the lines like this. Like, I don't know, it makes me laugh. I like it. But for real, he needs to come back. He needs a really, really good frame here. He needs that strike because he needs to maintain that lead against Belmonte. If he doesn't, Belmonte could just as easily come on back. He needs to close the door. But that's what's interesting to me about bowling. You're not necessarily always going against your opponent. It's really going against yourself here. No matter what, if Belmonte gets all strikes here and Duke gets all strikes, Duke wins. He just has to keep going. And that's why he looks so nervous. But to really keep the pressure on Duke, Belmonte needs to perform. He can't slip up here. He needs to get a strike. Needless to say, a 3-10 split is not exactly what he was hoping for. As you can see on screen, it's about a 50-50 shot he makes it, but I'm guessing he will. So now, since he got a spare, Belmonte gets one more throw in the 10th frame. Basically, there's 3 parts to the 10th frame. If you've ever been bowling, I'm sure you get it. I mean, I don't really get why I've gone this in-depth in scoring anyways. If you've ever gone bowling, why are you watching a 20-minute video about bowling? Sorry, that really doesn't matter. I'm kind of getting sidetracked here. Anyways, Belmonte makes the most of the 10th frame and closes out with a strike, so that's at least a good thing. It just puts a lot of pressure on Duke, but really all he needs is 7 pins to win. It's his game to lose. Oh my god, is that 7? Okay, he got it. He got 8. He really got it. Wait, this is real? Like, for real? He did it? He beat him? Norm Duke just came in on a 4-year cold streak and beat Jason Belmonte in the first time that he ever beat him in a PBA televised event. You can't write it. It's perfect. Look at how happy he is. God, I love him. He makes me so happy. I can't. I'm smiling so big right now. And that really brings me around to why I made this video in the first place. Sure, I wanted to make a silly video about a bowling match, but like, I wanted to look at why people like sports. People scream when you throw a ball into a rim, or kick a ball into a net, or when you hit a ball with a stick, or even when you catch a ball and run 4 yards. But why don't people get as excited for hitting 10 pins with a ball? I asked this question to my girlfriend Nicole, and she very wisely pointed out that really sports are a form of entertainment, and entertainment is a form of escapism. I don't know about you, but I've never done this. And with bowling, even kids can do it. If you just give them the proper technique and the right ball, bam, they're fine. They can absolutely do it. But to me, I just don't get it. I will never understand why people don't enjoy bowling as much as I enjoy bowling. I find it particularly entertaining, and that's also why I made this video. I wanted people to like bowling a little bit more. You know, get invested in a storyline. And that's also what I think sports are about. Getting invested in people, getting invested in a team, and wanting them to do well. When I see Norm do well, I feel good. It makes me happy. Seeing him pick up the trophy and say happy birthday to his mom brings me genuine joy and happiness.
Happy birthday, Mother. I missed you. Hi, Karen. Hi, Brandon. Look. Oh.
As soon as Norm is done saying his thank yous, he lets the audience pass around his trophy. This is way, way up there. It was a performance I didn't know I had in me. It was moving for him. He didn't know he could do this. I mean, don't feel too bad for Jason Belmonte though. Just a little bit later on, he went on to claim that 11th title. It wasn't just any old title, it was his 11th major title, setting him up with the record for the most major title wins ever. And he didn't stop there. He went on to get number 12, and then he went on to get number 13, and he celebrated that one with his family, which I think is really, really cute. This is like the best post-game interview I've ever seen. And then just literally 2 weeks ago, he went on ahead and he did this, getting number 14, just further smashing the record. No one is likely ever going to touch that. He will always be one of the best bowlers of all time. And he always is going to be one of the ones who changed the game. 14 majors titles is kind of ridiculous considering the next runner-up has only 10. And just a little bit later, Norm went on to win his 40th title, setting him up at number 3 all time. He's still active right now, so who knows, maybe he could still climb his way up a little bit further, but, well, I hope so. Now, there's one last thing I wanted to address. The title. 7-10 split. The reason I call it that is because I really feel like these two were as different as can be, and the odds of Norm winning was very, very low. The same thing as a 7-10 split. They're the furthest apart that 2 pins can be, and has the lowest likelihood of conversion. There's less than a 1% chance that a bowler on the PBA Tour can convert it, and it's only happened 4 times on TV. Right now, you're looking at him. See, Norm to me was making the 7-10 split when he beat Belmonte. It was unlikely, but he just went out there and he bowled. He shot straight and he tried his best, and he went on ahead and he won. And I like to think that that gave him the confidence he needed to get title number 40 and set him up at number 3 all time. If you stayed this long, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you liked the video, give it a like, maybe even subscribe. I'm hoping to start making videos. You can even follow my Twitter up there if you want to see more updates. But other than that, I've been Shambles. I hope to see you guys soon.